Hey guys, it's West here, back with another Dungeon Hunter Champions video. Today I want to talk about some progress I've made since the last update. I know some people aren't as big of a fan of Dungeon Hunters. However, I think for the sake of the growth of the channel, I do want to expand to some games outside of Summoner's War. I think I've discussed this very briefly before, but for some people wondering why I've strayed a little bit from the Summoner's War content, I have not at all stopped creating Summoner's War content and will not anytime in the near future. Just to clear that up. But yeah, I've made some progress since the last video. Let's talk about something other than the channel. I have been able to clear the Elder Drake B10 relatively consistently with this team, and I'll show you guys the gear in a bit. Of course, this is going to be the run where it fails in order to prove me wrong and make me look like an idiot on video. But I've had pretty moderate success with this team, around an 80 to 85% success rating. I could tell you guys what happens that makes this team fail. So the biggest issue with this team is the uptime on the buffs. Now, that is something that can typically be mitigated with skill ups on units, causing their duration to increase and the time it takes to cool down to decrease. However, in this case, the units that need to have 100% uptime on their skills have been max skilled. Of course, this is Mojo, who I'm referring to, the Nature Grublin Shaman. It's really important for him to have a maximum uptime on the defense and attack buff in order for my team to output more damage and take a lot less damage. The defense buff is massively helpful. That in addition with the Water Crystal Priests, immunity and healing is really nice. Having that immunity up means that you won't get defense broken, and having the defense buff up means that you're basically reducing the damage your team takes by a ridiculous amount. And so the uptime with the immunity is nice. You know, we don't need it to be up 100% of the time. Having it up more often would be better, but it'd just be a plus. It's not really required. The defense buff, however, it's really important to constantly have that, or at least have the defense buff or the immunity up. Because if we have a defense broken target who's naked with no, or by naked I mean has no buffs on them whatsoever, or no damage reducing buffs, then they're going to take a huge heap of damage and probably die. Now this is something I noticed with my team, and I noticed that's how my units wipe. So my main damage dealer here, I should point out, is the Water Timekeeper, and the Nature Valkyrie does quite a bit of damage as well herself. But the Water Timekeeper applies these ongoing damage effects. You could see right here that look like blood drops, and you could see, you know, a fair amount of the dragon's HP go and just drop when he's got that up. And so when he dies, which does happen on occasion, my team is less likely to succeed the run. Now they still can beat it, but the runs where he dies and they win anyways are usually around 6 to 7 minutes, and at that point they just die because I have so much, or I have enough healing to keep my units alive and just auto attack him to death. However, that's not what you want it to do. We can see he didn't die here in the first half, although he's sitting there soaking up damage. But if he makes it to the second life of the dragon and the dragon goes down to about a quarter health, from that point forward we're just about safe. Now something I have noticed with this team is that the AI is pretty dumb. I'm not sure if that's in the game's design, as AI isn't supposed to be, you know, the all, or the answer to all problems, and the AI is not supposed to be perfect, because if it was, then you know, there'd never be a reason to manual, and maybe it would cause some sort of imbalance in the game. However, I do on occasion notice the Water Timekeeper running right into, you know, the front line, taking a heap of damage. Like right there, he stood there and he was focused by the Elder Drake, which is a shame, because those are the types of runs that we lose, is when he gets focused off fairly quick. Now we may still be able to beat this because the Nature Valkyrie does this pretty significant amount of damage, but it's not ideal. But those are the runs we lose, is when he gets taken down, and you can see he didn't have a defense buff there. The dragon, I believe, had an attack buff. Whatever happened there, it was like it was more than one thing that happened at once. Like here we have a stun in addition to the defense break on some of my units, so you could see multiple things happen that caused the death. And now that Mojo's down, this run's probably over, and that really sucks, because I wanted to show you guys what a success looks like and talk about that, although this gives me a prime opportunity to talk about what's wrong with the team. Now uptime on Mojo can only really be mitigated by having an adept set at this point. I don't really see any other way to, and you can see again, no defense buff means that my team dies. Perfect example of what goes on in my team. Now, to talk about my team really quickly, Water Timekeeper's not fully skilled up. Valkyrie is not fully skilled up. The Light Boon Sister is skilled up on everything that is essential. The only skill up she's missing are into damage on her Q or W ability, but all the duration and harmful, or uptime on her defense break, all that is max skilled. In terms of that, but the only one here who's missing skill ups is the only people here are the Water Timekeeper and the Wind Valkyrie, and those are important skill ups as well. But those will come when they come. I can't exactly control those directly. We did pull another Water Timekeeper today, however. But uptime on those skills is really, really important. And the only way to really fix this is getting an Adept set on Mojo, which I haven't gotten around to doing. I haven't gotten around to the Steel Widow recently. I have been farming a good amount of this because, like I said, this has been successful all day for the most part. But like I said, if just the stars align in a way that, my Water Timekeeper dies, the run is probably over, because he is my main source of damage. And actually, after this run, I could pop up the information screen that they have at the end that basically lets you know like how much healing each unit did, what their contribution was essentially to the team, which I think is a really nice feature in Dungeon Hunters. But my goal so far has been to get 5-star gear with some decent substats so that I can support getting rid of that accuracy in the bracer slot, I believe it is. Because when I can remove the accuracy in that bracer slot, it means that I'll be able to maybe put HP percent, defense percent, or attack percent depending on the unit. More attack percent on the Water Timekeeper would be cool, but more than anything I want to get him some more HP or even some more defense percentage on him, just so he has some overall more survivability. Right now he's on an attack HP accuracy build. Most of my units in this team, besides like Zircon, for example, have an accuracy in their bracer slot, unless for some reason they had enough accuracy elsewhere to support not needing it. Mostly because I, of course, do not have the substats to support not having that accuracy there, and it's really, really important that the units on this team land their debuffs, because they really, really help mitigate the damage between the glancing hit and the attack break and the attack speed slow. There's a lot of things that contribute to my team's survival, and debuffs are a huge part of it. So I do have maximum accuracy that I can get on most of those units with the bracer slot. I give them as much as I can. In addition to that, for substats, I look for high HP, and that's about it. Accuracy bonus substats is really nice too. And for the Water Timekeeper Manas, I have been looking for the attack percentage substats. Also, a side note, the Wind Valkyrie does quite a bit of damage, actually. Something I was surprised about when I checked the stats page was the amount of damage contribution she actually gives to the team. It's pretty significant amount, almost as much as Manas in some cases, sometimes a little bit more, which is surprising. I would guess just because of her damage that scales with her attack speed, between the attack buff on her, the defense break on the Elder Drake, and the attack speed buff that she gives herself and the rest of the team. That probably contributes to a lot of her damage. But I was actually pretty impressed with the numbers that I saw. And here's a run that wins. Like I said, as long as we get the Drake to about 25% health, even if Manas dies, it's okay. And for a 3-minute 39-second run, that's not too bad. Alright, so now let's talk about the gear on these units, since I'm sure some people out there are curious about what it takes to clear Elder Drake B10. I sure was, so I thought I'd share some of that information. We'll take a look at Xenia first. She's the only 6-star in this team. Do I think she needs to be 6-star? Maybe. I think it helps a lot having the extra base HP on this unit, since you could benefit a lot more from the stats, basically getting a lot more out of your percentages by having your 6-star. But I don't think it's 100% necessary. But like I said, it's a bonus, and I plan on using her for a long time. So I gave her a lot of HP. I gave her accuracy, pretty straightforward HP accuracy. This was the best way I had to get HP in the shoulder slot and accuracy in the bracer slot, so don't mind the fact that these are brutal. I did mention I do have broken sets on these units just because I'm trying to aim for stats. I don't really care about sets as long as I could get the most stats possible. So you can see a little bit of defense here helps too. But yeah, lots of HP accuracy, so she could land her defense break, her lower defense debuff, as well as removing the buff. I believe that requires some accuracy as well. Also, she's got some stuns, which helps a little bit during the waves leading up to the boss. Not as relevant as her HP-based heal here. So, like I said, tons of HP and a little bit of accuracy too. So next we can go to Zircon. Another unit which is pretty straightforward, mostly because this unit doesn't apply any debuffs to the enemy. And as such, I don't really require accuracy in the bracer slot. So that means that I could focus on having really high HP, maybe aim for a little bit of defense in some of these pieces of gear. The gear isn't spectacular. You can see the stats here. Higher percentage based health total than Xenia, only because Zircon has HP in all the major slots in the glove, the shoulder, and the bracer. So, you know, a decent amount of HP, and I wish I had a little bit more defense. I'm sure that would contribute a little bit more. Also, this is a unit where I've considered getting an adept set just so that I could have higher uptime on the immunity. I did mention that takes a little bit of strain off your team in terms of not having to stress about the defense buff coming on your team, because the lower defense debuff can cause your team to die. Okay, so the next unit we have here is Manas, the Water Timekeeper. We could talk about his skill ups, and by the way, the last few units I've mentioned are max skilled everywhere it counts. Xenia is missing 2 skills here, but that only increases damage. The Water Timekeeper, however, is missing quite a few skill ups just because it's a 3-star unit, so it's not as easy to get them, and I am free to play in this game, so I'm not summoning these units all the time. But when I do, I feed them in order to get him skilled up, because I do want him to have you know, higher healing here. That is, you know, pretty relevant. That pretty sizable amount of extra healing you get, as well as the damage output and the duration of the ongoing damage effects. That's also huge. Half a second doesn't sound like much, but it could be the difference between whether or not you fail or succeed a run. So yeah, I have him on an attack HP accuracy build on Brutal Vital, just so I can get as much attack and as much HP as possible. I want a lot of survivability. I want a lot of HP for this healing and damage on this skill. And of course I want accuracy, because we do get bonus accuracy out of these 2 skills. Bonus accuracy based damage, as well as the ability to land these ongoing damage effects. And that's the main reason we bring him, is for the ongoing damage effects. Also, black buffs. I'm not 100% sure if that works on the Elder Drake. I don't know whether or not those towers that the Elder Drake has cleanse before giving him the attack buff, but if they don't, then it means that we can block the Elder Drake from even getting the attack buff, which prevents even more damage from coming onto our team. But I do want to get this guy max skilled, and I do want to give him better stats, because he is such a beast, and he's really the focal point of our team, as without him we probably wouldn't be able to take him down at all, much less, you know, take him down quickly. The next unit is Mojo, the unit who is my primary candidate for an adept set if I go and decide to farm one. I have him on HP accuracy, mostly for survivability. The accuracy is there so I can land the disorient effect, which potentially reduces damage, as well as the lower attack speed effect, which most definitely reduces damage, as it causes the Elder Drake to attack your team less. Also, with the attack buff and defense buff, my team can do more damage and take less damage. Pretty straightforward unit. All these units are pretty straightforward. There's not too much complex synergy going on. It's all just really good stuff that they do, and we want more of it. So having an adept set on this unit would mean that I could have 100% uptime on this defense buff. What I've noticed is that there's not a huge gap in time between when the defense buff runs out and when the next one comes up with this skill. However, in that gap, if the towers manage to get a defense break on any of my units, and perhaps the Elder Drake happens to have a lack of debuffs or have an attack buff, whatever unit he attacks is going to die. So having 100% uptime on this would greatly help the success rate of my team, and so in the future I may be getting an adept set for him. The final unit we're going to talk about here is Rota, the Wind Valkyrie. She's really nice because her damage output's really good. In addition, of course, to doing all the other things. I was actually a little bit surprised when I saw her numbers. She does about as much damage as my Manas does. Even though Manas does ongoing damage effects, her damage is based on her attack speed, and between the defense break on the boss, the attack buff, and the attack speed buff that she gives herself on her, the amount of damage she's able to output is actually fairly impressive. So On her, like the other units, I have HP accuracy. I got a little bit lucky on this piece of gear. You can see I have her on the rapid set, which increases her her attack speed. I don't really have many critical rate substats. I have a few, which contributes a little bit to her damage output, but that's not the main reason we bring her. If anything, having extra damage is kind of just a bonus. We do want to get as much accuracy as possible because she is the one that lands the the lower attack debuff, which basically reduces the damage that the Elder Drake outputs on your team, as well as a backup defense break, and damage that scales with attack speed all around, as well as this attack speed buff. It's really hard to look past how good this is, you know, the attack speed buff, but in addition, she lowers the skill cooldowns of all of her allies as well as herself, which basically means that all your other units get to do their stuff more. It means Mojo gets to buff more, the Water Timekeeper gets to put on more debuffs, Xenia gets to heal more, and Zircon gets to put out more immunity. So all around, she just kind of brings the team together more and reduces their cooldown, so they can do all their abilities a lot more, which means just more of everything for your team, which is always a good thing. So as of this point where I'm at, I don't really see any units in my box that can directly replace or be a direct upgrade from any one unit. So I don't want to mess around with my units in terms of my team too much. However, in this next week or so, I do plan on spending a lot of time trying to get better gear for them. I want to get everybody up to really high HP, really high attack for units like Manas. I want to get him up to maybe 1600 attack. I know that sounds a little bit ambitious, but gaining 900 more attack is possible when I start getting better substats on my gear. Because the second I get better substats on my gear, I can afford to switch this out for maybe an attack percentage, maybe a defense percentage, and make him more tanky, give him a little bit more survivability. But in the future, I'm going to be working a lot towards making these units just better all around in every way that I can. Resistance is a bonus, but I'm not going to be aiming for it too much. However, if I see it on substats, I really do like it because that means there's a lower chance of getting a defense break on some of my units, so maybe on Manas I'll be looking for that. However, as I do use him as a main damage dealer, or almost as a bruiser, I guess I should say, I am going to be focusing on a lot of HP, a lot of accuracy for the debuffs, and a lot of attack. That also is probably going to mean I'm going to have more healing, which is a nice little bonus to giving him a lot of attack, and maybe that will lead to speeding up my team. More than anything right now, though, I'm trying to work toward having higher consistency so that I can more effectively farm through these dungeons and waste less resources. So that's about it for Dungeon Hunter Champions. In terms of summoning, I summon the summoning pieces or the special summons whenever I get them. So I very rarely have any discs to summon for you guys. That's just because I don't want to set up myself for disappointment more than anything. But if you guys are curious about what I pulled, I got this Fire Snake Lady out of watching an ad, watching the free ad in the store. So that was cool. I've gotten 2 of these Water Candy Munchkins, and from what I've heard about them, they're pretty good. Direct upgrade from the nature ones in some areas of the game. I got another Esper. And I got the Nature Dino Kid, but this is what my box is looking like now. For the most part, what you see is a lot of food. I did get a few more mana skill ups today. I am going to save one though, however, because I am going to be building a second one, I believe, for the Steel Widow. But that's about it for my account. If you guys have any questions or comments, as always, be sure to leave them in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Hey guys, it's West again. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe for more.